Welcome, and thank you for joining our Women of Innovation Spotlight webinar, The Power of Mentoring and Role Modeling in STEM Disciplines. I'm Elizabeth Durgan, Committee Co-Chair for the Women of Innovation program, which is now in its 17th year. Annually, Women of Innovation recognizes women innovators, role models, and leaders in science and tech, including outstanding young women at the high school and collegiate levels pursuing tech professions. We are currently accepting nominations for the 2021 class and have extended that deadline to June 18th. So please spread the word to your friends and colleagues and submit your nominations at www.womenofinnovation.org. We'd like to take this opportunity to recognize sponsors: Medtronic, News 8, WTNH, Pfizer, and Sonalist. And if your organization's interested in sponsoring Women of Innovation 2021 programming, please contact us at events@ct.org. So immediately following this presentation, there will be a Q&A, and we encourage you to submit your questions at any time using that Q&A button on your toolbar. Today's presentation is being recorded, and we will provide you with a link to that recording as well as a slide deck shortly after its conclusion. And now I'm pleased to introduce the moderator for today's presentation, Dr. Jacqueline Garofano, Chief Technology Officer for the Connecticut Center for Advanced Technology and two-time Women of Innovation honoree.
Great. Thanks so much, Elizabeth. I'm so thrilled to be here to speak with Dr. Sarah Wojiski of the Jackson Laboratory for Genomic Medicine. And so as a like-minded women in STEM, certainly I don't have the life sciences journey. So I'm really interested to hear what Sarah has to share with us today. Before I turn the floor over to Sarah, I would just like to give her some kudos as a Women of Innovation Large Business winner for 2020. She is the Director of Education at Jack's Lab. She oversees educational programs and provides mentorship for students and trainees ranging from high school to postdoctoral fellows. She has over a decade of experience in teaching, curriculum development, and program administration in the life sciences. Her work emphasizes experiential learning, promoting effective and innovative teaching practices, and fostering diversity, equity, and inclusion in the biomedical workforce. So with that brief introduction, I'm very excited to hear what Sarah has to share with us, and then I'll be back on for some Q&A. So please drop your questions in the Q&A chat box, and I'll be back later. Sarah, you have the floor.
Great, thank you so much, Jackie. I appreciate that introduction, and I'd like to thank the Connecticut Center for Advanced Technology and the Connecticut Technology Council for inviting me to participate in this webinar this afternoon. I'm really excited to be here, and especially to talk about mentoring and role modeling and a little bit of the work that I do at JAX, because it is such an important part of my professional identity. So I'm very pleased to be here today. Let's see, just see if I can advance. There we go. Okay, great. So a little bit about the Jackson Laboratory. We are a nonprofit biomedical research institution. We're located adjacent to the UConn Health campus, right in Farmington, Connecticut. And we are really a genetics and genomics research institution. So our goal is to discover genomic solutions for disease and also to empower the global biomedical community in the shared quest to improve human health. So we really do believe that the work we're doing is for the greater good, and that we're seeking to increase the quality of life for individuals around the world. And part of our mission that I think is, something that I think about on a regular basis is this section about empowering the biomedical community. And that's really where I see part of my role at JAX and our education department in terms of providing the tools and resources and support necessary to really bring up the next generation of biomedical leaders. So before I launch into a little bit more about the work that I do, I thought I would start just by giving a very brief overview of sort of my personal journey and what got me to the Jackson Laboratory and involved in education initiatives. So I'll share a little bit about my background because I do think it really has helped to shape the person that I am today, the professional that I am today, and the work that I do in working with students and trainees in the life sciences. So I am a native of Connecticut. I was born and raised in Connecticut and was very proud to attend UConn and am a lifelong Husky. When I went to college, it was a big deal. I was the first person in my family to attend college. My mother was a secretary. My father was a helicopter mechanic for Sikorsky. And nobody in the family had gone to college. So I was really excited and felt very privileged to have this opportunity to go to school. And I really attended college because I saw it as a way for me to be able to get a better job and a better paying job than the one that my parents had. And I really enjoyed the sciences and, thought I would major in biology because that seemed like an exciting and fun discipline to be involved in. But as I went through college, so many things were realized to me. It was a very transformational period. I learned that, people with PhDs aren't just philosophers, they doctors of philosophy, but they're not just philosophers. And I learned sort of a little bit more about what, higher education is all about. And I really found a fantastic mentor at UConn, one of my professors who I still keep in touch with to this day. She's still part of my professional and friend network. And she introduced me to the field of cytogenetics, which is a clinical laboratory specialty. And so I ended up getting my degree in cytogenetics. And I specifically did this because I knew that it would lead to a good job and a good career after graduation. And so sure enough, the next step that I took after I graduated college was to get a job, and I worked as a cytogenetic technologist at the hospital at Dartmouth-Hitchcock Medical Center up in New Hampshire. And while I was at Dartmouth-Hitchcock, I actually started talking to my supervisor, and he was a recent PhD grad. And he sort of saw potential in me in terms of my overall career growth and development. And he suggested, might you consider going to graduate school? And gee, I had never really even thought about that as a potential option. And so I said, okay, well, maybe. I think, I guess that sounds really cool. I was, spending a lot of time in the lab. I thought maybe, I could launch a career as a research scientist, and I'll give it a shot. So he actually was very encouraging and very supportive in my quest to attend graduate school. And so ultimately I was really excited and thrilled when I received admission into the PhD program in biomedical sciences at Harvard Medical School, and launched my research career at that point in time. And I'll just share, very briefly that my career path sort of took a circuitous route. During graduate school, I had, some personal issues, medical issues, family issues that happened that actually led to me departing from graduate school for a couple of years, first on medical leave and then a complete unenrollment in graduate school. But during that time, I knew that I really enjoyed teaching, because teaching was part of what we had to do as graduate students. We had to teach some of the undergraduates. I had some experience with that. And so I decided, as an alternative, maybe I would become a high school teacher. And so I actually pursued my master's in education at Boston College. And I got a job as a high school science teacher ironically, at the high school that I graduated from in Southbury, Connecticut. So I was now colleagues with my former high school teachers, which is a whole other story. So I did that for a while, and I really learned a lot about teaching, about working with young students, about just designing authentic laboratory experiences and things like that. But I ultimately decided that my calling really was, more at that more advanced level of science. And so after a little over 2 years of absence from my graduate program, I actually petitioned the dean to allow me to return to my PhD program. And I was readmitted into the program and finished up my PhD in genetics at Harvard Medical School. And by the time I finished my PhD, I sort of knew at that moment that a solely research-focused career was not going to be for me, and that I really enjoyed more working with students, working with colleagues, talking about science, teaching others about science. And so that's where I focused and shifted my career trajectory. And I was really lucky to have a very supportive mentor and advisor during my PhD program, who was very supportive of this career path and allowed me to do a lot of additional teaching during my PhD, and gave me that freedom to really explore other avenues within the sciences. So after I finished my PhD, I completed a postdoctoral fellowship in curriculum development, where I gained some additional skills and helped to reshape the graduate training program at Harvard Medical School. And then I worked as a biology professor for several years. And I did this both in Boston at Mass College of Pharmacy, and then more recently at Southern Connecticut State University. And while I was at Southern, I actually was working on a collaborative project with the Jackson Laboratory and learned more about the education programs at JAX. And then an opportunity arose while I was at Southern for a position within the education department at the Jackson Laboratory. And at that time, I thought, boy, I could never see myself leaving academia. I just always assumed that I would be working at a college or a university or, some institute of higher learning for the rest of my life. But again, I took this as a moment to really, do some self-reflection and to work with some of my mentors and to talk to some of my mentors, going back to my college professor from UConn, my supervisor from Dartmouth Medical Center, and then more recently, my dean at Mass College of Pharmacy, who again, I'm still connected with and still consider very much a mentor in my life. And they really encouraged me to take a leap of faith, so to speak, and to take a risk. And that's ultimately what brought me to the Jackson Laboratory. And so I raised this really because I'm sure, many of you probably have similar experiences where you've had very long and winding and non-linear pathways to get you to wherever you are in your career path. And I think that these types of experiences and these types of unexpected twists and turns are not something that younger people are always thinking about. They are usually thinking single-mindedly about this is my goal, this is how I'm going to get there, and I've got to do steps X, Y, Z. But they're not always necessarily prepared for those diversions to other opportunities or to other roadblocks that may unexpectedly arise, or twists and turns in their personal or professional lives that may happen. And I think when we can draw upon our personal experiences and share those with others, that can be really powerful and a really great learning opportunity for young scientists. So I wanted to just share with you a little bit about the work that I do at the Jackson Laboratory, and what really drew me to this position at JAX was the fact that we have a very robust and dedicated team of individuals that are dedicated to education and training the next generation of scientists. And so I'll talk a little bit about the variety of tasks and projects that I work on at the Jackson Laboratory. And I think they kind of fall into, three, when I was thinking about, three buckets or three themes of things that I do at JAX. And so one of those is engaging young minds in science. So high school students, college students, getting them to think about different topics in genetics and genomics and in the life sciences. Also, programming that really helps to foster persistence in STEM. So many students are interested in STEM when they are younger, and then as they progress through that career and academic trajectory beyond high school and into college and graduate school and beyond, we see a drop-off of individuals from STEM. And particularly, we see a drop-off in women, and we see a drop-off in underrepresented minorities in the STEM disciplines. And so working on programs and projects that can help to foster persistence and to prevent that drop-off or to reduce that drop-off is also something that's very important to me. And then supporting the next generation of biomedical leaders. We have a robust group of trainees at the graduate and postdoctoral level at the Jackson Laboratory who are, have made a commitment to a career path in the biomedical sciences, and working on developing sort of beyond the bench programming and supports and resources for those individuals so that they can be successful in their future career paths. So a little bit more about some of these themes of the work that I do at JAX. And when thinking about engaging young minds in science, some of the programs and activities that I oversee are STEM outreach programs. So we are involved in our community around the state of Connecticut. This is a picture of a visit we did at Weaver High School in Hartford. Talking about one of our research projects at the Jackson Laboratory that actually sent, let's see, trying to go back. I'm not sure why that, there we go. Where we sent some of our laboratory mice to the International Space Station. And so this was quite an amazing research project that we did. And so we wanted to share that with our younger audiences. So we developed a series of lessons and activities for high school students to talk about that particular project. And so we brought that to some of the classes in the Hartford Public School System. We also run a high school teacher professional development program that's trained over 75 teachers across the state of Connecticut in how to bring modern genetics and genomics curriculum to their high school classrooms. So we have a suite of laboratory activities, we have bioinformatics lessons and bioethics lessons that culminate in this comprehensive curriculum in genetics and genomics. And we run a short course every summer for high school teachers to teach them how to teach this content to their students. So again, getting students when they're younger exposed to some of the modern cutting edge research and research techniques that are taking place in the life sciences to help to spark that interest and hopefully promote further engagement in STEM, hopefully in college or beyond, but also to help these individuals to become informed citizens and informed consumers of healthcare as they grow older. We know, modern medicine is becoming much more personalized, and genetics and genomics is really at the heart of that. And so genetic testing, genomic testing, and how that is impacting the diagnosis and treatment of patients with both chronic and acute diseases is really, the way that medicine is moving forward. And so the more individuals we can have in our community who are educated about these things, the better they can make informed decisions about their healthcare moving forward. So a little bit more about fostering persistence in STEM. As I as I alluded to, we have what's referred to sometimes as a leaky pipeline in STEM, in that we start to see a drop off of students pursuing STEM careers or STEM disciplines as they move through their academic training. And so we try to provide some opportunities and resources for young scientists to try to promote their persistence in STEM and to keep them involved in and engaged in STEM throughout their academic training. We have a robust summer student program that we run at the Jackson Laboratory. It has been around for nearly 100 years. So it was sort of when the Jackson Laboratory was founded, the summer student program was part of that and has been a part of the culture and legacy of JAX since its inception. And the summer student program is an intensive 10-week summer research experience for undergraduate students. We recruit students nationally, so we bring students from across the country to the state of Connecticut, and they spend the summer with us on our campus, and they conduct research in our faculty members' research laboratories, and we provide additional coursework and professional development programming to sort of help to build that experiential learning opportunity and to promote those individuals' interest and engagement in research and in STEM fields. We also offer a college scholarship program at the Jackson Laboratory. This is awarded every year to one graduating senior who has an interest in pursuing STEM fields or a career in biomedicine, and is somebody who has a significant financial need. And so we've awarded the scholarship twice now. We're about to award our third, actually 3 times. We're about to award our 4th scholarship recipient early next month. And we follow these scholarship recipients over several years, and support them in any way that we can, either through internship opportunities or through connections with our scientists at the Jackson Laboratory. We have a Women in Science group that is connected to one of our scholarship recipients at Amherst College, who is part of her Women in Science group at Amherst, and they're doing some joint programming together. So building those relationships and those connections for our scholarship recipients as well. And then, as I mentioned, we do have a cadre of graduate students and postdoctoral fellows working at JAX. And, what our department in education really does for those individuals is support them with those beyond the bench skills that they're not necessarily going to get directly from their research laboratory. So certainly their work in the research lab is of utmost importance, and that's where they're learning to become independent scientists. But what are some of the other things that they're going to need to work on and be prepared for in order to enter the workforce and be competitive applicants for jobs and to be successful, to launch a successful career in biomedicine? So what other skills training can we offer? What other career exploration and career development opportunities can we offer? And that's the sort of the suite of resources that we build at for our graduate students and postdocs that we have at JAX. And so, the theme of what I've been talking about, really sort of an underlying theme of all of this is mentoring. Mentoring is sort of at the heart of everything that I do. And it's certainly defined my personal experiences. When I shared my personal story, I had so many mentors along the way who really guided me and helped to shape me into the professional that I am today. And I don't think I'm quite certain that I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't have those mentors and those people by my side. And so I keep that and I hold that with me in the work that I do each day at JAX and in the individuals that I work with, be it high school students or high school teachers, college students, our graduate students, either through a formal program we're offering or through just an informal one-on-one discussion that I'm having with one of our young scientists. those are all opportunities for role modeling and for mentoring and sort of providing, you know, possibilities and opportunities, and making those relevant and available to, you know, to young scientists, young burgeoning scientists. And so I just, you know, I just really want to point out the importance of mentoring, particularly in the STEM disciplines. I think quality mentoring experiences really help to build science self-efficacy. So, you know, helping scientists to become better scientists and to become, you know, to help build the skills that they need to be successful in research or in whatever element or aspect of science that they're working in. But to, you know, to give experiences and provide opportunities for those who to, you know, to build skills and to feel like they actually have the, you know, confidence to be able to carry out those duties and tasks. You know, mentoring experiences are really important for scientists' identity. And so this is directly related really to that notion of persistence in STEM that I raised earlier in some of the programs that we offer to foster that persistence in STEM. And, you know, one of the things that research has shown us is that part of the reason that we do see a drop off in underrepresented minorities or women, for example, in STEM disciplines, is that at times they can't really picture themselves as scientists. And part of that is because they simply don't have the role models or the mentors to, you know, to help them to see, to have that self revelation, so to speak, that they actually can be a scientist. And so to help scientists to actually, or to help young people actually take on that persona of a scientist, of a researcher. And so I think, you know, mentoring can really help to foster and build that sense of scientist identity in young individuals. I think it's not surprising that individuals that have quality mentoring experiences, that have worked with a mentor, are more likely to stick with and pursue STEM careers as they progress through their academic and professional training. And of course, you know, there's trusting and supportive relationships that evolve out of these mentoring experiences. And so mentors and mentees, you know, get to know one another over time. These are, you know, these mentor and mentee relationships take on a variety of flavors. You know, they're not one size fits all. But in some instances, you'll really foster a relationship with an individual that can last for many years and could actually last, you know, throughout a lifetime. And I think that, you know, there's some real benefits to not only providing that opportunity to a mentee, but also to be part of you know, as a mentor, to be part of a trusting and supportive relationship as well with a younger scientist. And so I think I'll pause there, and I'll open it for questions. You know, I'm happy to address any questions about mentoring, about my role at JAX. Really, anything you're interested in. Thank you for your time.
Thanks so much, Sarah. As I was listening and reflecting on you sharing your journey, it's like looking in a mirror. So I myself am a first-generation college student. I don't come from a lineage of anyone that's scientifically inclined. And when I first stepped on the campus of Southern as a student going to college for the first time, I met Christine Broadbridge, and she was exactly as you had described your mentor at UConn. So it's so incredibly powerful. And I too have that burning, fierce desire in however I show up to, you know, make sure that for our next generation, we are being what we have been given the gift of mentorship. So really incredible and inspiring. And I have a great affinity and a shared experience. So thank you for that.
That's great.
We did have a question come in from Patricia, and you did sort of address it during your remarks, but with respect to the drop-off that happens within college in the STEM areas. You had mentioned that, you know, the mentoring component is quite critical. And we know that the numbers are still very dismal, especially for women in the sciences, and certainly different disciplines within STEM are inching greater to over a quarter, but in my mind, that still just isn't enough. So with respect to JAX and the resources going beyond the bench and the mentoring, do you have any other thoughts that you might share with Patricia and those on the line about where you think this drop off really stems from and what we can do about it?
Yeah, I think, I think there are a lot of factors at play, obviously. So there's, there are a variety of reasons. I've in my research and studying this problem, I think there's, a variety of factors have been identified, and then that sort of leads to potential opportunities to, to try to address those factors. And so certainly, lack of mentoring or lack of role models are definitely part of the equation. And again, so for college students not feeling like they have individuals like them who have had a shared experience with them who have become successful in the sciences, that can lead to attrition and drop off in that pipeline. I also think it's, lack of resources and access to authentic science experiences. I know that that's another piece of the puzzle as well. And so when students can't actively have the opportunity to do science and learn what science is really all about at in an authentic fashion, then that also tends to be a contributing factor. And so those students who have the opportunity to perhaps participate in research experiences, for those students who, and that doesn't even have to be like an internship at a company or something like that, but even within their college or university. So having access to, to classroom-based research even, and those types of, sort of resources that foster that approach of science and that scientific mindset. I think that, those have been shown to also be really beneficial in terms of, promoting individuals' persistence in STEM. And then, having supportive networks and supportive environments through, other sort of non-academic components, but, things like science clubs, organizations on campus, sort of that additional infrastructure to help support students who are pursuing STEM careers, and having the academic support as well. So we all know, STEM fields there's a lot of challenging coursework involved in being a STEM major. And so, students who are struggling, having access to support networks, and academic support resources has also been, a clear factor in, in helping to promote persistence in STEM for those that are in college.
Yeah, persistence. I love that word. It's, a lot of what makes individuals successful. And so when, you speak about, going and finally obtaining your PhD, and I've done that too, right? And so I have many young students come up and ask me like, oh my gosh, you must be wicked smart. And it's like, oh, but I worked really hard, and, having that strong resource of rich mentors throughout your journey, whether it's your peers. I think peer mentorship is so critically important as well. And those that, you have this trusted relationship with, whether it's your professor, your teacher, and pulling that back into the early pipeline. So when I think back to myself in high school, I didn't even know that my journey would take me here, right? And so I feel like I consider myself a late bloomer in STEM. And so your mention of resources is critically important. And I feel like it's available for young students, whether it's extracurricular or even just online. The online community is really rich and robust as well. So I wonder if you could speak more to the benefits of becoming a mentor. And so I'll preface this by saying, I've worked with early in career engineers. And so some of them feel like mentorship is just like, so scary, right? It's like, will you be my mother, right? That child's book, right? Like, how do you approach someone to be your mentor? And so I certainly have my own thoughts, but I would love to hear some of yours as well.
Yeah, I totally hear you. And, and I think that, when we talk about mentoring, we talk a lot about, what the mentee gets from mentorship and, all of the things that a mentor can offer to a mentee, somebody with more experience supporting somebody with less experience, so to speak. But I really think, and just in reflecting on, again, just my personal journey and my personal experiences, I think, it's a total two-way street. And I think that there are just as many benefits to the mentor in a mentor-mentee relationship than there is to the mentee. So, in terms of building leadership skills, building communication skills, it really helps you to also become much more introspective and self-reflective. It helps you to really think about what were some of the, key things along the way. I wish I had known, hindsight is 2020, what are the things that I wish I had done differently or wish I had known back then? And I can now, it's very empowering to be able to support another individual and sort of share that personal experience and hopefully help them to, maybe find an easier path or to find the way to navigate through a challenging issue. It opens opportunities for building your professional network. I interact with people from so many different organizations and colleges and universities and high schools from across the state of Connecticut. And it just helps you to get to know so many people and opens up so many more opportunities. And it feels really good. Like that's, there's just, there's no other way to put it, but, being a mentor actually, it's really an opportunity to be able to give back to other people and to support people who, you may look at and say like, wow, I was in those shoes, so many years ago, and you and I have had a similar shared experience. And let me tell you, some of the things that I did to help navigate through some of the challenges in life. And, that's just really, it's just really a fulfilling experience to be able to provide that for somebody. And just, you mentioned about, the feeling intimidated or shy about, seeking a mentor. I think in general, most people, when they're approached for guidance or support or through like a formal, will you be my mentor sort of question, most people will jump at the opportunity. I think that there's always a lot of anxiety and apprehension about making that ask, but I think for the most part, people are good and generous and supportive and want to help others. And, if you've got your profile out there on LinkedIn and, if somebody messages you, most of it, you're expecting those messages. I get messages on LinkedIn and, people asking me questions. It's not off-putting to me at all. It's flattering in many ways. And, and it feels, like I said, it's an opportunity to support others and to help others. And I think in general, people are very willing and able to provide their expertise and their support to others. I talk to graduate students and postdocs regularly who are getting ready to move on to their next, stage in their career. And, I try to instill in them the importance of, building their professional network and seeking mentors and talking to their mentors. And there's always this like, well, can I just contact them like out of the blue? There's always this, fear and anxiety about it. But I think it's unwarranted because I think in general, most people are really, really happy to help others.
Yeah, I absolutely feel that same way. And the apprehension, just like let that just wash away. Because people want to be able to, one, tell you about what they do, right? And if if you show an interest in them and maybe emulating what they're doing in the STEM field, like they'll just talk your ear off, and they'll want to make sure that, as we all do, we're making the path easier for those that are coming up from behind us.
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely.
So you had also mentioned a couple of times of the beyond the bench skills. And so talking about the resources to make individuals like those postdocs and graduate students really, more attractive once they enter the workforce. So do you have a couple of examples very pointedly that you might want to share with the group here?
Yeah, for sure. So, being a scientist and having a successful career in STEM isn't just about, doing the science. I mean, that's obviously a big part of it, but there are so many other skills that are really important in STEM. And I think one of the ones that we, really that rises to the top and where we really try to emphasize and focus on is science communication and being able to, to talk about and to write about the work that you do. And this is so important for a variety of reasons. So being able to present the work that you do, being able to write about it, not only is useful in a scientific setting, because it's really important to be able to tell other scientists about the work that you're doing and to try to, get funding and to get, to get a position, for example, you need to be able to give a presentation and have it be clear and coherent and concise, to a group of scientists. But it's also really important to be able to share your science with a broader community and, with with a lay audience or with a non-scientific audience. And, that's really critical. I think it's, I firmly believe that all of us in the STEM disciplines really have to be, we're not only scientists, but we're also advocates for science. And we really have to work to promote policy and resources to be able to continue to do science and to continue to advance medicine and to continue to make these breakthroughs in our various fields and disciplines. And we can't do that if we can't effectively communicate our science. And so that's something that we really that we strive to work on through workshops and opportunities for presenting research both internally and externally. We provide a lot of additional programming and support to our graduate students and postdocs in the area of both scientific writing and scientific presentation skills.
That's great, especially nowadays, right? When information is just like kind of being thrown at us. It's really important, especially coming off of a year of COVID and how important the work that you and your colleagues are doing. Communication is really important, and it's one of those emotional intelligence type of skills, those EQ skills. And I really like to share with students that, sometimes I don't even know what my IQ is. It's probably dismal, but that those EQ skills, especially going out into the workforce and into the world, are really critical. So some of what you've just shared with us is right on with that.
Yeah, and that's, and in thinking about even our, the younger populations we work with, high school students, college students, those communication skills are important. But even, taking a step back, just some of the, the professional skills of, being able to, being part of a team and working as part of a group, a collaborative group or a team is also really, really important. Science is not done in a vacuum by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, we see more and more collaborative research going on as time goes on, just as things advance so rapidly. It's very clear that one single laboratory group or one single person certainly cannot advance science, and that collaboration and teamwork are really, really critical parts of that puzzle as well. And so, you know, that's something else that we try to emphasize and stress with young scientists. Like, you need to know how to, you know, those group projects that you hate doing in high school, you need to learn how to work as part of a group or as part of a team. And that's going to be critical to, and working with people of, you know, diverse backgrounds and perspectives, and, you know, and trying to, you know, navigate through that process is really critical too.
Excellent. I know that we want to turn it over to our Women of Innovation team, but I want to just say that it's been a pleasure having a conversation with you. Thank you so much for the work that you do in inspiring our next generation of young people, especially in the life sciences. So if you have any closing remarks, Sarah, we can give you the floor, and then we'll turn it back over to our CTC team.
Oh, thank you, Jackie. I like I said, I really appreciate having this opportunity to talk to individuals today, and it's been a pleasure to be here. So thank you.
And thank you, Sarah and Jackie, for that close-up look at mentorship. And attendees, please mark your calendars for future webinars in this series, which are being held the third Tuesday of each month at noon. Next month's program on Tuesday, May 18th will feature Miranda Wong, who is 2020 finalist in the Community Innovation and Leadership category with Pratt & Whitney. And registration for that will be opening soon with more details. So watch your email for the announcement. And on behalf of Connecticut Tech Council and Connecticut Center for Advanced Technology, I want to thank you and the sponsors. Thanks for joining us today, and thanks to sponsors Medtronic, News 8, WTNH, Pfizer, and Sonalus. And we hope to see you next month.